thought I'd start with just a little bit of background on Hypaship, who we are, what we do. We're a carrier management platform. We work across two key verticals for us, which are carrier systems, meaning that we run everything from the initial booking of a job right through to the handheld technology in partnership with our friends at Black Bay, and various other pieces around billing and trackability and all the rest of it. The piece I'm going to look at today is the work we do with retailers, which is multi-channel management and carrier management. So we all know that there are a number of players in the market. There's one main player right now, I think it's fair to say. And so we decided, well, when I started with the company, which was about 12 months ago, we decided to have a quick look at what we do and whether it fits the market's needs and wants, and actually go out and ask a load of you guys what it is you actually want from a carrier management partner. When we got back those results, we found they fell into sort of 9 core areas and 4 attributes. So the core system functions that came up were carrier management, obviously, along with multi-channel management, third-party and dropship vend, which seems to be an area that a lot of the others out there have struggled to make work, duty management for cross-border, whole piece around pick-up and drop-off points and click and collect, which also includes returns, of course, tracking notifications, which are massively important, invoice reconciliation and validation, but this is actually more about MI and the data back from your carriers in the first instance, and then delivery innovation. So we're going to have a brief look at 3 of those in a few moments, but we'll also just touch on the attributes that came back from the surveys as well. So 4 main attributes that we got back, I think, from memory. The first was agility. And actually, we're not talking about agility just in terms of response times or even the makeup of the system. We're talking about the ability to bring new ideas to the table, to be ahead of the curve, which of course then leads on to innovation. One of the things we got back time and time again from the retailers we spoke to was that more often than not, you were having to ask your carrier management platform for what you wanted now, rather than them suggesting it 6 months ahead of time and having it ready to go. We hope that you'll see later on that innovation is at the heart of what we do. Scalability. And again, this is scalability not just in terms of the software in its own right, but in terms of being able to manage the peaks and troughs of volume. We all know that peak time, especially around sort of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, volume goes through the roof. And you need to be able to scale up accordingly. But equally, you need to be able to scale up to add new locations on if you're working in new countries, to be able to add in new DCs very easily if that's what you're doing. And we've built a system that works with that. Management information and the depth of management information. We work on a very granular level within Hypaship, and we found that customers are very appreciative of that. So that was one of the attributes you guys asked for as well. So if we have a look at Hypaship's carrier management piece in the first instance, and I'm going to try not to make this too much of a sales pitch to you guys, but we'll go through what we think the world should look like, and you can draw what conclusions or what we think it does look like from that. So, tracking. Tracking being one of the most important things for your customers. We allow all customers to see tracking across all of the carriers that they've got items coming from in one simple place. So that means we've got things like widgets that sit on your website, meaning there's no dilution of your brand image when the customer comes back to track. It means that we normalize, we take all of those tracking statuses, the 30 or 40 or 50 maybe sometimes, that you get across multiple carriers, and we turn them into a number of statuses that work for you, which means that regardless of which of your carriers the customer has got an item coming out with, they'll see roughly the same statuses. And that means that when they order from you time and time again, they'll continue to understand what that tracking means. Fixed cost and timescale carrier integrations. This is core to what we do at Hypaship. It's not just a case of saying, right, well, yes, we can bring on a new carrier for you and it'll only take 2 or 3 weeks. Actually, in our case, it tends to be in the 3 to 4 weeks maximum to bring on a new carrier. But it's about understanding that if you do need a new carrier and we're late in delivering, we'll take the rap for that. We'll give you that estimate. Well, in fact, it's not even an estimate. We'll give you the cost, and that will be what it is. And easy to create and maintain rules. So We looked at the rules piece about a year ago, and we'd already built a very dynamic rules engine. But we understood that customers not only wanted things like fixed rules to cover items under 1 kilo and all the rest of it, and the standard cheapest, fastest that you get with some of the others, but they needed dynamic rules, things what we refer to as conditional rules. So these are rules where you've got multi-factors making up any one direction of travel. For example, and I'll show you a video in a second, you could be an electronics retailer who's sending out, I don't know, iPhones worth £300, and you don't want them to go with your incumbent carrier to one particular postcode because you know there's an issue. It's very easy for you to, on screen, set up a rule to manage that scenario. And in fact, if we just have a look at the video. Now, this video has been slowed down necessarily because otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk over it. But this is the process within our sort of vanilla product that the customer would go through to set up any one set of rules. We're starting with a fixed rule. And as you'll note, there's the ability to set the valid from and valid to dates, which means actually you can set up rules today for peak. They'll switch off automatically on a given date. Actually, you can go back into the cascade after and reactivate them if you so wish. It's really not an issue. But all of the functions within the Hypaship system are manageable by you, the retailer. And that means that the response times actually are as quick as you want them to be. For any one part of the system, if there's anything that you forget to do, there's videos there to watch as well. So actually, whilst we're there to support, you can get the detail yourself. I'm not going to go through the whole video because actually it's because it's slowed down, it's a little hard to keep anyone's interest actually over that period of time. But the long and the short of it is very quickly we've managed here to create a rule that is for items valued, a weight under 1 kilo, coming from and going to the UK. And that's now set up on an open-ended basis. We'll just follow the conditional rule here because these are definitely the most powerful rules in our system. So in this case, we're going for an iPhone rule. And you can see, whilst our operative was going very slow for this, the long and the short of it is from any section of the detail that makes up a consignment, so whether that be SKU numbers or weight or value or destination, we can allocate very quickly those details to create any one rule. So in this case, I think we're just going with an iPhone of a certain value. In this case, this will be the goods description. And again, we can choose the carrier and the service. We'll let this one play through and then we'll move on. Excuse me, sorry. So, I'll let that finish out. Hopefully what you'll see through this video is that the way we've built the system is entirely designed for you guys as the retailer to be able to do whatever you want yourselves. We're there in the background helping, and we'll continue to do that. Our commitment to service in terms of support is 24/7, 365, and that's regardless of what package you're on with us. Which means we've made a real commitment to make sure you get exactly what you want from the system all of the time. Now, I had someone say to me the other day, well, we don't work at Christmas. And I sort of said, well, no, the carriers don't, on the whole, work at Christmas. But as far as I can tell, no one switches their website off on Christmas Day. So we need to be there for you on Christmas Day. We need to be there for you throughout the year, and we'll do that. I'm going to move forward because the cheapest and fastest rules are fairly self-explanatory. So then the next piece we looked at was third-party logistics and dropship vendor management. The system's built in a multi-tiered fashion to enable retailers or carriers, as I mentioned earlier, to work across as many different sites as they want. If you take a retailer that I was speaking to recently, in fact, if you take our largest B2B client, a company called Eric's, they've got over 300 sites in the UK alone, and they can manage every single one of those sites through the one interface, which means that they can add a new site in within seconds. The process is very much a case of add, give us the details, save. That site's then set up. They've got all of the information for that site that they need, whether that be that they've allowed the 3PL dropshipper to use their own rates. They've still got the detail on the track in there. Full visibility of tracking across everything. Or they've actually enabled the supplier to use their negotiated rates and put a margin on them. You can then look at the margin and all the detail behind that. Because we keep the transparency behind tracking as high as we possibly can, and again we'll unify those tracking statuses, make sure that it all makes sense across all of the different carriers that are being used. There's no loss at any point for the customer of tracking data, and certainly no dilution of brand image. So we'll move on then to click and collect. We take a great deal of pride in our click and collect piece. I come from a background previously of software development around click and collect, and then also worked for InPost and a couple of the other click and collect operators out there over a few years. So when I came into the company, it was really key for me that we made the click and collect piece one of the flagship pieces for retailers. Not just because you need to be able to make it easy for your customers to return, but actually the outbound is just as important. And we know that what's right for your customer today isn't necessarily what's right for them tomorrow. And if you take some of the big brands in the country that people order from time and time again, why should I have to submit to how they want the items to go out each time? Why can't I have it, if I'm in Birmingham today, have it to somewhere that works in Birmingham, but I'm at home tomorrow, have it at home? So what we've done is we've taken with the exception of one of the UK PUDOs, we've taken, at the moment, all of the others, we've put them into one map. Now on this one, they're branded up in blue, but actually it depends on the retailer. They can have the PUDO logo on. It doesn't really matter to us in the grand scheme of things. But we've also allowed the retailer to then integrate into that very simply and very easily their own store portfolio. Meaning that actually, rather than the scenario you've got on some websites where you're having to dip in and out of any one piece of the PUDO system to figure out where you're going and what you want to do. See everything in one place, all the detail over opening times of the store locations, and what items you can have sent there, and anything else that you guys tell us you want. And the customer can make an informed choice. If that customer's had a poor service with one of the PUDOs and they just don't want to see the option, there's a toggle on the side of the screen and they can switch that option off and only look at the ones that make sense to them. Equally, they can switch off all bar the one that they're quite happy with. So, important, display your own store portfolio as well. It takes about 10 minutes if you've got a list of your store postcodes to get them into the system. And of course, you'll then be increasing the customer's choice and satisfaction. From the results I've had back, it looks like about 85% of customers have said they'd shop more with a brand if they made delivery and returns easier. And what really gets my goat as a consumer is when we give them choice and then make the choice for them. So we can print out pre-printed Royal Mail and Collect Plus and anyone else labels you wish us to do, but actually empower your customer to make that choice for themselves rather than giving them faux choice, as I like to put it. So, working with Hypaship, we hope, would increase customer satisfaction. Of course we do. It's all about the same thing we talk about time and time again in these shows. It's about giving the customer the best possible journey from start to end. That means informed choice, clarity of information. I am about to choke, I'm sorry. It means there being no difference between them shipping with a drop shipper or with your own stores. Hopefully, that should reduce the shopping cart abandonments that you get on your site. Excuse me. One of the things I should have touched on earlier, and I've forgotten, so I apologise up front, is that the management information that's available within the system gives you the granularity that you need to be able to work proactively across customer services. So these aren't fake, made up or anecdotal reports based on a bill of service information going backwards a few weeks. This is real-time service, up-to-date service information, meaning that your customer services can sit in the system and run proactive reports at any time of the day to say exactly where any one parcel is. And they can do that over carrier, they can do it over individual customer, they can do it on postcode region. It really doesn't matter. We've made the flexibility of the reporting structure key to the way this works. So that means that actually we can start moving away from the case where I get an email from M&S 2 days after it went wrong saying sorry, but actually chuck an email across today or even a call saying this is what we know is happening and we'll get it sorted. We hope it would completely streamline your returns process because you'll have all of the options there available to you. But the reality of that is it will also streamline the outbound process. There is no difference, as far as I'm concerned, when using the non-delivery options that are out there between an outbound and an inbound. The only difference is where the carrier's picking up from or whether it's being dropped off in the first instance. The key to the process is choice for the customer and making it easy. And on-site tracking to increase repurchases. So that's a really simple line of HTML code that we'll give you to put on your website, which means that customers no longer move away, but what they will see is the full data on the tracking process. And if you are like Argos and a few other retailers out there moving towards using your own existing fleet for delivery, because we have a system that is built as much for the carriers as it is for the retailers, you can completely manage that fleet, including handheld technology and all the tracking that's available there. So, again, just to cap off, we would like to reduce your costs. We think by having everything in one place, that's exactly what you'll get. The system has the ability to very quickly validate any invoice you get from a retailer, and the upshot of validating the invoice is that you see where surcharges have happened, you understand what those surcharges are for, but you also look at service reporting that enables you to go back to your retailer and your carrier and say, you were wrong, you didn't deliver on these dates. But there's a difference between service reporting in the world as it is now and the service reporting the way we see it happening. So we allow you to have built-in allowable delivery codes within the system. What that means is what we get is customers and retailers who allow for things that are genuine mistakes, but hold the carrier to account where actually they were just out of line. So our service reporting capability brings with it a true and adjusted performance. So when your carrier sits down and says, look, Mr. Bloggs, we did 99.9% on time last month, you can actually say, no, you didn't, you did 82%, and here are the reasons why. Please could I have a service credit? And I'm sure there's a few carriers in the room that are probably not liking that too much, but you could do it the other way around as well, actually, if you're a carrier. And then, of course, because we make all the choices in terms of direction of travel for the parcel up front, and we've given you that dynamic rules engine, we hope that you would have streamlined your in-house operations. The best customers for us are the customers who actually never see our system day in, day out. They sit in the scanning part of the system, scan off a label that's come out of the system, and that's it. Everything else is automated. And we've already touched on customer service and rules. So, who are Hypaship? Well, we're a carrier management and multi-channel management platform. We work across 3PLs and dropship as well. We enable you to have as many locations as you possibly want in the system. As I say, our current highest number is, I think, about 300. We have dynamically managed PUDO and click and collect options, the invoice and MI management pieces that we spoke about, and then we give the clarity of tracking and notifications across the system. We have a global presence. We've got customers in 5 different global territories at this point in time, and that's ever growing. We are completely multi-language and multi-currency. So regardless of where you are in the world, what you're shipping, where you're shipping it to, if you're working across more than one region, your customers will be able to have that in their localized currency, in their localized language, as will your dispatch locations. We make that commitment to 365, 24/7 support, and delivery innovation lays at the heart of what we do. You can notice this has gone slightly out of sync. We're cloud-based, actually. We're a SaaS platform like most now, but we're run off of AWS. It means that we're infinitely scalable, and in fact, we've stress-tested any one customer to 1 billion parcels a year, which is more than most carriers need, so we're doing okay. Currently, we work across a number of verticals, and as I said, across a number of countries, but everything from carriers doing, our largest carrier at the moment does about 40 million parcels per year, but we're very close to signing someone who does about 10 times that. But also, we run international services for the Body Shop and people like Medic Animal. That's just a few there to mention. 45,000 new users into the system last year, well, in the last year, so you can see the scalability of it there, and about 80 million transactions as we stand. By the end of next month, I hope I'll be able to increase that number to about 150 million, but all being as I plan it to be. But that's us, that's Hypaship. That's what we think carrier management should look like, or at least in brief. Any questions, I guess? Muted.